In a bustling Chicago winter, where icy winds cut through the city streets, billionaire entrepreneur Marcus Hensley, known for his ruthless business acumen, has his life changed forever by a simple act of kindness. On his way home one night, he notices a homeless woman shivering on a park bench, clutching a young child to her chest. Something about her eyes, a mix of strength and desperation, compels him to stop. But this isn't just a story about generosity. When Marcus helps the woman, he unknowingly opens the door to secrets from her past that will unravel his carefully built empire and force him to confront his own humanity. What begins as an act of compassion spirals into a life-changing journey. Neither of them could predict Dodd. What would you do if a single decision changed your entire world? Marcus Hensley was the epitome of success, a penthouse overlooking the Chicago skyline, a multi-million-dollar tech company, and a reputation for turning failing businesses into gold. Yet, beneath his polished exterior was a man growing increasingly detached from the world around him. One frigid night, while leaving a gala at Millennium Park, his limousine was stuck at a red light near Grant Park. Out of the corner of his eye, he noticed a woman sitting on a bench with her arms wrapped tightly around a child. Her thin coat was no match for the freezing temperatures. Marcus hesitated, but finally asked his driver to stop. Approaching her cautiously, Marcus offered help. The woman, who introduced herself as Rachel, initially refused, her pride shielding her vulnerability. But when Marcus saw the boy's pale face and trembling hands, he insisted, "You can't stay here tonight. Let me help." Reluctantly, Rachel agreed, and Marcus arranged for them to stay in a nearby hotel. While the warmth of the hotel brought relief, Rachel's guarded demeanor remained. "Why are you helping us?" she asked, her voice laced with skepticism. Marcus shrugged. "Sometimes we're in the right place at the right time." The next morning, Marcus visited the hotel to check on Rachel and her son, who she introduced as Leo. The boy was shy, hiding behind his mother, but Marcus noticed his curious gaze and the way he clung to a small, worn-out toy truck. Rachel, though grateful, kept her answers brief, her mistrust evident in every word. "I can't stay here forever," Rachel said. "I'll find work and figure things out." Marcus was intrigued by her determination, but couldn't ignore her fragile state. "What kind of work are you looking for?" he asked. Rachel hesitated before admitting, "Anything that pays. I just want to give Leo a better life." Despite her insistence on independence, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to her story. He offered her a temporary position at his company as a receptionist, promising it would be flexible enough for her to care for Leo. Though hesitant, Rachel accepted, knowing she had little choice. As days turned into weeks, Rachel proved to be intelligent and hardworking, quickly earning the respect of the office staff. Yet there were moments when Marcus caught her staring out the window, lost in thought, as if haunted by something she wasn't ready to share. Weeks turned into months, and Rachel became an integral part of Marcus's company. She worked diligently, and her sharp mind impressed even the most skeptical employees. Leo, meanwhile, began attending a local daycare funded by Marcus, and his once timid demeanor was slowly replaced with laughter and curiosity. For the first time in years, Rachel felt a flicker of hope. One evening, Marcus invited Rachel to a company event. She hesitated, feeling out of place in such a glamorous setting, but Marcus reassured her. "You belong here as much as anyone else," he said, his tone firm yet kind. At the event, Rachel was introduced to some of Marcus's high-profile business associates. It was a surreal experience, but she handled it with grace. However, as she walked through the crowd, she froze in her tracks. Across the room, a man stood, his face pale as he locked eyes with her. Rachel's heart raced. It was Jason, someone she never thought she'd see again. Jason had been a pivotal figure in her past, someone tied to the very events that had left her homeless. He quickly excused himself from his group and approached her, his voice low but urgent. "Rachel, what are you doing here?" he asked, glancing nervously around. Before she could respond, Marcus noticed the interaction and joined them, sensing her discomfort. Jason abruptly left, but not before whispering, "We need to talk." Rachel's hands trembled as she turned to Marcus, who asked, "Do you know him?" Her response was barely audible. "He's part of the reason I lost everything." Rachel's encounter with Jason left her shaken. That night, she struggled to calm her racing mind. Memories she had worked so hard to bury resurfaced with a vengeance, images of betrayal, financial ruin, and a life she could no longer recognize. Jason wasn't just a figure from her past. He was the man who had taken everything from her. The next day, Marcus noticed Rachel's distracted demeanor. "You've been off all morning," he said during a coffee break. "What's going on?" Rachel hesitated. She wanted to confide in him, but feared the weight of her story would change how he saw her. Double quotes, just ... "Memories," she finally said, forcing a smile. But Marcus wasn't convinced. Later that afternoon, Marcus received an unexpected call from Jason. The man's tone was cautious, yet calculating. "I believe we need to discuss Rachel," Jason said. Intrigued and slightly suspicious, Marcus agreed to meet at their meeting. Jason revealed a startling twist. Rachel wasn't just a former acquaintance. She was once the heiress to a family fortune that had been embezzled and destroyed, leaving her and Leo penniless. "She blames me for everything," Jason said, feigning innocence. But the truth is more complicated. When Marcus confronted Rachel that evening, she broke down. She revealed the truth about her past, her family's wealth, the betrayal by Jason, and her desperate attempt to rebuild her life for Leo's sake. "Now you know why I didn't want to accept your help," Rachel said, tears streaming down her face. "I'm not who you think I am." Marcus's response surprised her. "I don't care who you were. I care about who you are now." Over the next few days, tension simmered between Marcus and Rachel. He tried to be supportive, but Rachel's guilt and vulnerability created a barrier she couldn't overcome. "Why would someone like you want to help someone like me?" she asked one evening. Marcus looked her in the eyes. "Because everyone deserves a second chance." As Marcus worked to uncover the truth about Rachel's past, he couldn't shake the feeling that Jason's story wasn't entirely honest. Determined to help Rachel, he assigned his legal team to investigate the financial downfall of her family. What they uncovered was shocking. Jason had been the mastermind behind a scheme that siphoned millions from her father's company, leaving it in ruins. Meanwhile, Rachel began noticing strange occurrences. She found herself being followed on her way home from work, and anonymous notes were left on her apartment door, warning her to stay quiet. Her anxiety grew, but she didn't want to alarm Marcus or involve him any further. One evening, while picking Leo up from daycare, she was confronted by a man in a suit who handed her an envelope. "A message from Jason," he said before disappearing into the crowd. Inside the envelope was a photo of Rachel and Leo outside Marcus's office, accompanied by a single sentence, "This isn't over." Terrified, Rachel finally told Marcus about the threats. "He's trying to scare me into silence," she said, her voice trembling. Marcus was furious. "He's not going to get away with this," he said. "You're not alone in this anymore." Marcus's words gave her a glimmer of hope, but she couldn't shake the fear that Jason would find a way to destroy not just her, but everyone who had tried to help her. As the walls closed in, Marcus realized the fight against Jason would require more than just money. It would demand courage, strategy, and trust. Marcus decided it was time to take action. He contacted his legal and security teams, determined to shield Rachel and Leo from any harm Jason might inflict. "If he's threatening you, He's crossed the line, Marcus told Rachel. This isn't just about your past anymore. It's about protecting your future. Meanwhile, Jason escalated his intimidation tactics. News outlets suddenly began reporting rumors about Rachel's alleged involvement in her family's downfall, painting her as a reckless heiress who squandered her fortune. The lies were expertly crafted to discredit her and isolate her from any potential allies. Rachel felt the weight of her old shame return. "I can't do this, Marcus," she confessed one night. "It's too much. I can't put you or Leo through this." Marcus, however, wouldn't hear of it. "Running away won't solve anything. If we back down now, he wins." Marcus's team uncovered a crucial lead. Jason had been laundering money through a shell corporation that tied directly to his current business dealings. It was a potential goldmine of evidence, but there was a catch. The documents proving his guilt were stored in an encrypted database. Accessing them would require a risky plan, getting someone close enough to Jason to retrieve the files. Rachel volunteered, much to Marcus's dismay. "I know him," she said. "I can get close enough without raising suspicion." Despite his reservations, Marcus realized Rachel's determination could make or break their plan. The stakes were higher than ever. Rachel had to confront the man who ruined her life, risking her safety to expose his crimes. As she prepared for the showdown, Marcus promised her one thing: "No matter what happens, I'll be there for you." Rachel's plan to infiltrate Jason's inner circle was set in motion. Marcus arranged a charity gala where Jason would be present, providing Rachel with an opportunity to gain his trust. Dressed in an elegant gown borrowed from Marcus's assistant, Rachel felt out of place but resolute. "This is my fight," she whispered to herself as she entered the grand ballroom. As expected, Jason was there, mingling with influential guests. His eyes widened in surprise when he saw Rachel. "I didn't think you'd show your face here," he said, masking his unease with a smirk. Rachel played along, pretending to seek a truce. "I'm tired of running, Jason. Let's settle this once and for all." Jason's ego made him receptive. He led Rachel to a private room, where he boasted about his recent successes and subtly hinted at the files that could incriminate him. "It's all about being smarter than everyone else," he said, sipping his drink. Meanwhile, Marcus and his team monitored the interaction from a discreet location, using a hidden microphone Rachel had concealed in her bracelet. The tension in the air was palpable as Rachel worked to keep Jason engaged, knowing she had limited time. Finally, Jason excused himself to take a call, leaving his laptop momentarily unattended. Rachel seized the moment, plugging in a flash drive Marcus had given her to extract the encrypted files. The seconds felt like hours as she watched the progress bar inch toward completion. When Jason returned, he eyed her suspiciously. "What are you doing?" he demanded, stepping closer. Rachel froze, her heart pounding. But just as Jason reached for the laptop, Marcus burst into the room with security, catching Jason off guard. Jason froze as Marcus and two security personnel entered the room. His confident smirk faltered, replaced by a mix of anger and panic. "What is this?" he demanded, his voice rising. Marcus stepped forward, his tone calm but firm. "This ends tonight, Jason. We have everything we need to expose you." Rachel, still clutching the flash drive, stood her ground despite her trembling hands. Jason laughed bitterly, attempting to regain control of the situation. "You really think anyone will believe you? I have connections, resources, far more than either of you." But Marcus had anticipated Jason's overconfidence. "Your connections won't save you from this," Marcus said, nodding to Rachel. She handed him the flash drive, and he held it up. "This contains all the evidence of your embezzlement, fraud, and laundering schemes. And as of 10 minutes ago, copies were sent to my legal team and the authorities." Jason's face turned pale, but he quickly masked his fear with bravado. "You're bluffing." At that moment, Marcus's phone buzzed. He held up the screen, displaying a confirmation message. The files had been received and forwarded to federal investigators. Jason's mask of confidence crumbled. "You think this is over?" Jason hissed. "You don't know who you're dealing with." He lunged for Rachel in a desperate attempt to grab the flash drive. But Marcus intercepted him, restraining him with the help of his security team. "You'll pay for this." Jason spat as he was escorted out of the room. Rachel leaned against the table, overwhelmed by the gravity of what had just happened. Marcus placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "It's over," he said softly, but Rachel shook her head. "It's not just about me, Marcus." "What if he comes after Leo?" Marcus knelt to meet her gaze. "He won't get the chance. I'll make sure of it." As police arrived to take Jason into custody, the room buzzed with activity. Rachel felt an overwhelming mix of relief and exhaustion. She had spent years running from her past, and now, for the first time, she felt like she could stop and breathe. As Jason was escorted out in handcuffs, Rachel watched from the sidelines, her emotions a whirlwind of relief, fear, and disbelief. For years, she had believed justice would never catch up to him, and now, thanks to Marcus's unwavering support, the nightmare seemed to be ending. Marcus turned to Rachel, his expression softening. "He's done. The authorities have everything. They need to ensure he can't hurt anyone again." Rachel nodded, but her thoughts immediately shifted to Leo. What if Jason's associates try to retaliate? She asked, her voice trembling. Marcus placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "You're safe now, Rachel. I've already arranged for additional security for you and Leo. I won't let anyone come near either of you." At that moment, a detective approached, confirming that Jason's crimes were extensive and undeniable. "Your evidence sealed the case," he said. "We've been after him for years, but we never had enough to take him down until now." Hearing those words, Rachel felt a weight lift from her chest. But as she looked at Marcus, she realized her gratitude extended beyond his actions. He hadn't just helped her escape Jason's grasp. He had believed in her when she couldn't believe in herself. "I don't know how to thank you, Rachel." Sobbed, her voice breaking. "You don't have to," Marcus replied. "You've been through enough. Now it's time to rebuild, and I'll be here to help you every step of the way." Rachel smiled for the first time in what felt like years. The storm was over, and for the first time, she saw a future filled with hope and possibility. In the weeks following Jason's arrest, Rachel began to rebuild her life with a newfound sense of hope. The media buzz surrounding the case eventually subsided, and the public narrative shifted from scandal to a story of justice and redemption. For the first time, Rachel was able to walk through Chicago's streets without the weight of her past haunting her every step. Marcus kept his promise, supporting Rachel and Leo in their journey to stability. With his guidance, Rachel used part of the recovered assets from her family's fortune to start a community initiative aimed at helping single mothers find housing and work. The initiative was named New Horizons, symbolizing the fresh start she had finally been granted. Leo, now thriving in school, brought home a drawing one day. It showed Rachel, Marcus, and himself standing under a bright sun. "That's us," he explained proudly, "because we're happy now." The simple drawing brought tears to Rachel's eyes. One evening, as they watched the sunset from Marcus's rooftop, Rachel turned to him. "I never thought I'd have a second chance, not just at life, but at trusting someone again." Marcus smiled. "Sometimes the hardest storms lead to the clearest skies. You're stronger than you know, Rachel." Their connection had grown into something deeper, built on trust, respect, and shared resilience. Though the journey had been difficult, it had brought them to a place of hope and possibility. As the city lights sparkled in the distance, Rachel felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. The road ahead was still uncertain, But she knew one thing for sure. She and Leo were no longer alone. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to rate this story. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you score Rachel and Marcus's journey? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another inspiring story. Share this video with someone who could use a little hope and inspiration today. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.